Okay, here we go. Welcome to the National Entrepreneurs Association June Lunch and Learn on Digital Marketing. I'm Dr. Zelania Allen. I'll be your host. I am president of the National Entrepreneurs Association, where our goal is to support entrepreneurs through quality networking events and educational programs. Today, I will be speaking with 4 experts in the digital marketing space. We have Van Allen, president of Van Allen Audio and Video Production. Next, we have Spencer Comps, owner of Phase 2 Multimedia. And then we have Shrija Naka, owner of WebZ or Web Mobile Z, right? And then finally, we have Kevin Kettles, president of Kairos Marketing. Welcome, and thank you guys for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so I'm expecting an outstanding call today. The topic of digital marketing is on fire and has been for some time, and I think it will continue to be as technology is always changing and improving. So we'll get into some of that today. Obviously, we know that the topic of digital marketing is very broad. So our intention is not to cover everything today, but to just give the attendees an idea of everything that's out there and what you can do to grow your business using digital marketing. And then you can choose something and then take a deep dive into it. Our experts are willing to speak with you after the call, so we will give you their contact information toward the end, and you can reach out to them and set up a meeting one-on-one. So let's get started. I will start with you, Van. Can you just take a couple of minutes to tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background, and how you got into audio and video production?
Okay, absolutely. Absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me on the call today. Okay, now I'm a member of the NEA board, and man, I was around NEA back in the early days when it was first conceived. Actually, it was SEMA before it was NEA, but so I've been involved for, almost from the inception of the organization. But as far as my video background, I was involved in video, over 20 years ago. Back in, I think about 1998, I first got introduced to video. In fact, when I got in, there wasn't even such a thing as YouTube. Nobody knew, knew YouTube existed. Outside of that, I did a cable television show for Comcast Television back at the beginning of the 2000s. In addition, I managed and worked with a local artist in producing music. So I've had an extensive background in video production and social media. I have an opportunity to share some of that experience with our viewers today.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Van. Let's move to Spencer Comps.
Sure. Well, first of all, Zelania, thank you for having me again. So my name is Spencer Comps. I own a company called Phase 2 Multimedia. So kind of how I got started running this content agency or this media company was when I was 18, I actually started a clothing brand. And long story short, the clothing brand didn't work out too well, but I ended up learning a lot of skills when it came to marketing and creating content. I was doing all of my own photography and branding. And so then after I decided to switch gears, I kind of looked at the new skill set that I have and I said, hey, how can I provide value to the marketplace with what I now know? And so that's kind of when I ended up starting Phase 2 Multimedia was October of 2017. And so what we do really is help small business owners mainly create content for their brands, whether that be through social media, video, photo, or even graphics.
Okay, sounds great. And finally, actually we have 2 more. So Shrija, let's hear from you.
Hi. So I have completed my master's in computer science and started working on different companies for 10 years. And then I came out of the job world and started my own company called Web Mobile Z. So Web Mobility is a software development firm with the mission of providing innovative services and vision of providing to clients across the globe. So Web Mobility is the web and mobile application company which provides a web design and online marketing tools to our clients. So we do not just build a website, we educate our clients and on best practices on the web and help them to choose the right marketing tool to support their site once it's completed. So we do the website development and revamping the websites and digital marketing. So yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, thanks for your invitation to having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. And finally, Kevin Kettles.
Hi, thank you for having me. I've got about 23, 24, 25 years, you don't remember, years of experience in marketing. I also teach marketing and supply chain management at Wayne State University. I'm on the full-time staff there. I've been an entrepreneur. So I've worked in marketing for 25 years, but I've owned different companies, one in healthcare supply chain management, and another in clinical research site management. So I've been on both sides as a business owner and providing marketing service. My agency is Kairos Marketing. It is a strategic marketing and communications organization, and we help our clients in all different areas of marketing. We're a comprehensive marketing agency, but we have special focus in the digital marketing space, and that's because it is so prevalent and it's such a great tool for targeting, and it can be done very efficiently. So thank you for having me.
All right, wonderful, great introductions. So let me start by asking you guys, what is digital marketing? So whoever wants to jump in and just give us a really quick, clean definition of digital marketing.
Well, I can address that. Ben, I'm primarily video production. When you think about digital marketing, it's simply marketing, but from a digital standpoint. And the example I use is I remember back over 20 years ago when everybody, you know, when you were doing some type of event and you wanted to get the word out, typically what you would do, you would run down to your local newspaper, put an ad in the newspaper or print, and get it out to as many people as you could. Back during that time, I was doing promotions back in the late 90s. I did something called the Motor City Ballroom Competition. And I had to use word of mouth, newspaper, television, radio, things of that nature. Now, when you talk about digital marketing, you're talking about using the same marketing strategies, but adapting those same strategies to the digital perspective, which when we think about digital, we're talking about particularly online and using digital medium from recording, from video to audio. And so that's basically, you know, where we are when you talk about the difference between the way marketing used to be done and now doing it from a digital format.
Okay, well, I have a definition up. A really simple definition would just be marketing over the internet using your computer or a mobile device. So let's start with video. Spencer, can you tell us how can entrepreneurs use video to grow their business?
Sure. Well, video is probably the tool that would sell the best in terms of communicating your message, your brand, and your products. Reason being just because you can actually put a lot more emotion into it just because it's somebody speaking. You're putting a lot more thought into it versus just an image, which nothing wrong with those, but there's typically a lot less time that people spend watching or actually viewing those versus a video. So, you know, one of the great thing about video technology is most people have a smartphone. I'm actually using mine right now. And then smartphone technology has gotten so good to the point where it's almost it's getting close to DSLR cameras. And so you'll see a lot of people creating content through videos that they're just shooting on their phone. So basically now we kind of have this arena where the mobile technology has gotten so good to the point where you can pretty much just put your camera up on a tripod. I even have mine on my laptop right now, and click the record button and then start recording video. So then, you know, I think even the iPhone has the ability to edit clips, at least like change the duration of them. So if you want to take a certain piece out, then you can. But that's just a great example of how people can use video. And the most basic form today is just use what they have in their pocket, which is their phone.
Absolutely. And that's a great point. I use my phone when we're at our National Entrepreneur Association meetings, and I will get just quick video to use in clips. And the quality is, like you said, it's pretty good. So Van, did you have something to add to that? How can entrepreneurs use video to improve their marketing?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question because there are so many different resources. Like Spencer just mentioned, one of the reasons that video has taken off so big is because it's so accessible to everybody. You know, everybody now is using, as you said, the smartphone, and you're getting good quality. Back when I started out, the cell phone wasn't really an option. And even if you did use cell phone video, the quality wasn't that good. But all that has changed as far as some of the different avenues that individuals can use to promote their business. There's so many different types of videos that you can do. And that's what you need to understand. You have your demonstration videos, where you're demonstrating a product, or testimonial videos, instructional videos, the music videos, the list goes on. And the beauty of it is these are skills that you can learn yourself in a short amount of time just by getting your phone out and practice. And another thing that's so important now is people love video because it gives you an instant connection, and it utilizes more of our different senses, our eyes, our ears. And the more senses you engage with individuals, the easier it is to connect, because quite often when we just use audio media, we don't have a perception of how that person looks or their facial expressions. And as you know from recent incidents, things that have been captured with, in the crisis today with some of the things going on with COVID-19 and what have you, we've been able to get instant feedback. That's another thing that makes video so powerful, is you can get instant feedback, and you can actually have that video message on screen reaching thousands, possibly millions of people in minutes. And that's why video.
And we see that a lot, like at events, people will video and they'll be posting while they're still at the event.
Absolutely.
So Kevin and Shrija, did you have anything to add?
I think video is powerful, just like what others have said, because you can see, you can hear, and video is good when the message is good, when you need that depth. The thing you have to consider when you're determining which kind of media you want to use and which platforms you use are expense. Video teams seems to be a bit more expensive. So if that works for your budget and for the message that you're trying to deliver, then video would be very appropriate. Nice thing about video is it also can be delivered a lot of different ways now, digitally, through social. You can include links in emails, and they can be posted on your website. So there's a lot of different places that you can put video. That usually the barrier is production cost, or you do something that's low tech or low expensive, just like using your phone. And you can do stuff pretty effectively.
Okay.
But certainly a good option to consider.
Mm-hmm.
Shrija, in your business, I know you specialize in websites. Do you guys incorporate a lot of video on the website? And do you feel like it's something everybody needs to be doing right now, since the technology is there and it's so easy?
Yeah, technology is moving is changing day by day, as everyone knows. So basically we can add all the videos into the website, and so whatever the visitors are coming to the website, they are converting to the like a customers. So, they are going to be see the videos and audios, testimonials, services and products. So everything, whatever the customer want to see, they can see into the website for all the information. So there is no limit to upload YouTube video, or you can upload any audio directly into the website.
Okay, awesome. And I think it's more important today because of COVID-19. I think it's going to be a while before people really get back out there. So it's been awesome for people to be able to still connect and see each other. So one last question on the video piece. What do you guys think are the biggest obstacles that are still preventing so many people from using it as a marketing tool?
Right. I can speak on that. That's a great question because so many people become intimidated by video or shy away from it. And in my mind, having done it for so many years, I found through my experience, it's kind of a threefold issue that slows a lot of people down when it comes to video. Kevin mentioned one of them, which is the cost factor. Many people feel that, it's just too expensive, and especially early on in your business, if you don't have a budget set aside, it can cost a lot of money, but there are ways you can get around that, such as like using a smartphone. That's something that wasn't accessible to us some years ago. The other thing, which is kind of connected to the cost factor, is the actual shooting and editing the video. That can be very intimidating because even if I shoot a video, how do I get it edited? How do I produce a quality piece? Because quality is important. If you're trying to make a good image for your business, you want to make sure that you're putting out a quality product. You could tape a great or video a great presentation, but if you don't have a proper beginning and an end, you hear voice chatter in the beginning, then it takes on an amateur feel. If you're trying to project a professional image, then you want good editing. Now, I'll give you a little secret, something that you can do. There are various programs you can use to kind of learn how to edit yourself. But if you're not inclined to do editing, some of these young folks out here, these teenagers,
Like Spencer?
Yeah, they're like, so many kids now are into gaming and they're on the computer all day long. They can literally edit on their cell phone like Spencer edited. And I'm sure they, if they're young, they can probably give you a better price. Hey, this isn't a knock your business, Spencer, but but some of these young kids, maybe for an allowance or some weekend money or whatever, like, hey, I'll edit that piece for you. And then, like I said, make sure you look at the quality of their work. The last thing, which is very important, is a lot of people are just camera shy. They feel like, okay, there's no way I'm going to get on camera and have to speak on camera and present myself. So that's a reason why a lot of people may shy away. So how do you overcome that? Practice. Get your phone out and just, go out to the park or whatever and just practice. Put together a piece, work on it until you're comfortable with it. The other thing is hire somebody to be your on-camera talent. That's what we call it in a business. And I'm not always a big proponent of that because if Kevin or Shrija, if they're trying to brand their business, people want to see them.
Yeah, people want to see you and they want to feel your passion and know why you do what you do.
Right. Not a professional stand-in guy that's being paid to present your, represent your product.
Exactly. I'd like Spencer to jump in and, tell us anything else you think we need to know before we move on to the next digital marketing topic.
Sure. Yeah, so usually when I'm addressing that question, I typically get two answers or one of two. The first one is that they don't want to do video because they make too many mistakes. So just like Van had said, it takes practice to be able to speak in front of a camera comfortably. And even if you have done it a long time, you're still going to make mistakes, right? So Absolutely. If you have a video editor, they can always take those out. But then also that's just being human, right? No one's going to speak every single word perfectly, and it's never going to be flawless. But that's one of the things that people actually like is if you make a mistake, if you end up having to repeat a sentence, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So that's usually the first thing I get. The second thing I get is that people think that their voices don't matter. So they say, hey, well, even if I create this video, I don't know if anyone's going to watch it. And my answer is that, well, I don't know if anyone's going to watch it either because we haven't created it yet, right? And so one of the things that we have to do is, it's not necessarily your job to prejudge what you think is going to work and what's not going to work. Just create the content and then see what the market likes to actually watch, engage with, and listen to.
Okay, awesome. So let's move to our next topic. And I just want to let our listeners know that you can ask questions. I saw that someone had their hand up, but go ahead and type your question in the chat box, or you can type it under the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. So I'm just going to pull up the agenda, video marketing. So now we want to move to website marketing. And let's go to Kevin. What can you tell entrepreneurs to improve their website marketing? Like, what should we be doing? What are some of the mistakes that you're seeing out there?
Yeah, website marketing is really, really important, especially for entrepreneurs when you're developing a new business, because it's the face of your company. And where people get to know you and get to know your company, and there's a lot of different things that you can accomplish on that. So it can be a distribution channel for your product portfolio. It can be a place where you can include your own messages and your own ideas. So you could post videos, press releases, and links to your social media. And for this, it's really, really important. In order to engage your audience overall, you should be thinking of your total digital portfolio. So I would think of how do we integrate social and email and websites so that we can all congregate and we can give information to our clients so that they can better get to know us. And I think that the point that was brought up about video before, it's really a nice window into who you are and what you believe and why you're passionate. And it's really important. So website is a great tool. I would encourage people to also think about search engine optimization and how you can increase the likelihood that when someone searches for your website organically, that they can find it. And to consider a search engine advertising strategy as well. So so that when they're looking for something related to what you do, then they can find you. And that's another strategy that should be part of your digital promotion campaign.
Can you tell us what search engine optimization means for those who may not know?
Sure. Search engine optimization is where you build your website in such a way that you are more likely to rise in the rankings of the search engines. So it's like Google as an example. So there's certain things that Google likes to see in your website to move it up the rankings, because not everybody can be at the top. So what Google is trying to do is figure out what's the best site to put at the top when people search for these keywords. And so it means having the right content on your page for the types of keywords that are common for what you're offering through your website. And then also it's small things like it has to work on mobile. It has to look at a mobile phone, because most searches are now done on mobile phones anyway. And so it's got to work in that particular format. It's got to be mobile friendly. Another thing is that sometimes when designers put pictures on websites, they put pictures in that it's the original picture, and it takes up a huge amount of memory and space. And so what happens is if you don't shrink that picture down, it's going to take a long time to load. And this is one of the things that Google looks at is how quickly does your website load? Because basically what they're looking for is what is going to give the people who are searching for things via Google and searching things through the internet, what's going to give those users the best experience, meaning the most likely to have a good experience when they visit these particular pages. Another indication of whether a page is popular, or for this particular topic, if there are lots of links to this page from other pages. So search engines, those are just a small example of all the things they look for, and which can be intentionally designed into your website to drive organic traffic. And that's separate from search engine advertising. And that's basically an auction system where you're saying, okay, I'm going to bid on this particular keyword. The more that I bid, the higher that my advertising will be placed.
Awesome. And I want to encourage everyone, do your own research. As you hear the experts talking about these topics like search engine optimization, keyword searches, you're going to want to get out there and research those things for yourself and make sure you're incorporating these things in your website marketing strategy. Shrija,
Yeah.
what would you like to add to what Kevin said?
Yeah, as Kevin said, the website is very, very important to grow your business. And so instead of giving yourself into your local area, so you can give your introduction, your company policy, and your company product, services, everything you can put into the website. You can promote that website using SEO, as Kevin said. So in the Google is going to search as a mobile responsive websites. So mainly, so mobile responsive websites is very important nowadays. Everyone using the mobile phones and everyone is searching through mobiles. So so the previous days they are going to be fit into the only desktop websites. Now everyone using the mobile responsive websites. That is a main trend nowadays. So so as he said, keywords and like a search engine optimization and SEM, there is a lot of things to do your website as an SEO and to come into the top ranking. So there is
Okay.
no there is no breaking codes. There is a certain limits for the image, like a certain format for the image. You can use that, and there is a keywords and description you can add into the website.
Okay, so what would you say is the advantage of hiring someone like you to build a website versus trying to do it yourself using one of the free templates that's out there like WordPress or Wix?
Basically, if you want to promote your business like only just like one page or just one paragraph, or you that's it, so you can use a Wix. If you want to promote yourself like marketing and user experience way, then you can go with the other agencies. So they are going to
Okay, so
research
like
yourself.
the more complicated it becomes, like if you need a store or
Yeah.
you need something extensive, then you would want to hire someone versus
Yes.
using a template.
Yes. So
Every
there is in the market, there is lot of templates like a Wix and Webflow or Weebly. There is lot of templates are available. So if you want to do only the certain format, you have only certain services, limited services, then you can go with the Wix or Weebly. Or if you want to analysis, or you want to store a database, or do you want to log in and register, do you want to like a application format, then we have to hire the agency.
Okay, Kevin, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I think an entrepreneur it's almost impossible because you have to know how to do everything. You have to
Yeah.
know how to do the accounting and file the taxes, and then you got to be expert in whatever it is that you're actually offering. And then you have to be expert in website technologies and development and stuff like that. It's all like you have to make that important decision of how do you spend your time, because you only have so much time in the day. And you might be forced to have to figure all this stuff out because you simply aren't at the scale and you don't have the funds to go out and hire somebody and do the very best that you can and use a simple format like Wix. Wix it can for some people still be too complicated or above them technically, in which case you might want to hire somebody that would do it at a relatively low cost. But if your business requires a complex website with, for example, database integration and dynamic functionality and things like that, then you might need to put together a business model that will allow you to hire somebody who has experience in doing this, because it might take you too long to try to figure out and do it yourself, which may take you away from your core functions.
Exactly.
Okay, and one more question on websites. I look at websites as kind of your foundation when we talk about digital marketing, because everything that you're doing out there in terms of social media, YouTube, it should be to drive traffic back to the website and close business. Would you guys agree with that?
Absolutely. One of the things I like to do, and Kevin somewhat alluded to that, is I call it looping. He refers to it as links. But in looping, what I try to do is I'll develop 3 or 4 different rows of traffic, such as you have YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Meetup, the list goes on and on. And what I make sure that I do is if I build a website, like you say, just having a website in and of itself doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get traffic. Many websites have been up for a year and maybe 50 people have visited those sites. Okay, so by looping, what I do is I'll develop a YouTube channel, which all roads lead back to the website, or a Facebook channel, and I'll post videos. That's another thing I wanted to mention real briefly, that having video on your website actually helps increase your ranking and your search engine optimization.
Yeah.
And typically what I do when I put videos on my website, I personally pull them from YouTube, meaning I upload my videos to YouTube, and then I'll put the link and a thumbnail on my website or in an email or Facebook or whatever. And so what happens is when you get a hit on any one of those, you get counts, back to your YouTube channel. By counts, I mean how many views, I should say, for your video. So when you work everything as a big picture and everything helps out the other thing, it increases, because when you start putting high-ranking videos with a lot of views from YouTube on your website, so increase your rankings. So it's about looping everything back together.
Okay, awesome. I just wanted to emphasize the importance of having a website and then having a quality website, and then using all of the other digital marketing to drive traffic back to that website and close business. So we have a question here. This person is asking, what's the average cost of a website designer? So can you guys give us some idea of what it might cost to hire someone?
I'm not sure of that, but could I make a quick comment on that? You asked a question earlier about what's the benefit of hiring a professional. Well, a lot of times it's about, I guess the word would be aesthetics, because sometimes people will build their own website and it just doesn't look good. Let's keep it, honest. And sometimes it's better to hire somebody to get a more quality looking site, because people are judging you by what they see, your videos, your website. And if you have a cheaper or economy looking website, it makes a person think twice about doing business with you. So that's where hiring somebody like CJ could be a benefit if you can't build a quality website yourself. As far as how much it costs, it can vary. Anybody got any ideas on that?
I would
CJ?
direct that to Kevin or Shrija, because they actually build websites.
There are companies that have templates for websites that they do them pretty inexpensively for $500 to $1,000. So that's if someone wants, something that doesn't have a high level of customization and stuff like that. To build, range can probably be from $1,000 to $10,000. Basically, it's what kind of technology, what kind of functionality do you have, how dynamic the website, how many assets, how much content. If you're looking at a website that's only a few pages, you can find someone to, create it relatively inexpensively, or an agency might, do it for, a few $1,000, something like that. But generally speaking, for entrepreneurs, I would say it can range anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 to $10,000, with $10,000 being, dynamic, e-commerce platforms, database function, and functionality that exists on the website, and it's more complex. So there's a wide range. It's just like anything. The more work that there is, the more complex that it is, the more specialized skill that are required, the more expensive that it's going to be. But if you're just putting up some content, then you could probably do it relatively inexpensive. You know, simple content, you can do it relatively inexpensively. And if
All
you do it,
right.
you can do it for almost nothing.
All right. Awesome. So keep the questions coming. That was a great question. Next, I want to move to social media marketing. So there are tons of social media websites out there, and I just Googled the top 10. So these are the top 10 social media sites. What advice would you give an entrepreneur who's trying to figure out a social media strategy to drive traffic back to the website and they're feeling overwhelmed and they're thinking, where do I start? Spencer, you take that one.
Sure. So what I would say is in the social media marketing space, there's typically two forms of marketing. There's paid and then there's organic. So paid is of course what you're actually paying for. So that's I spend $1 and I get X amount of people to my website. Organic is you're not spending anything, but you have to work in order to get that engagement or that kind of traffic. So maybe you have to create videos, you have to create content, and I have to actually put out some sort of value in exchange for getting people to come into my site. I think the easiest thing would be to just create a campaign and just pay for it. If you have the budget, that would be the fastest way to do it, as well as the thing that's the most simple, because then when you get into the organic side, you're getting into branding, which I still think is important. You're getting into branding. There's a lot more time that goes into the creating of the content and the brand messaging and things like that. That's more of a long-term strategy. So if you just wanted something fast, simple, what I would do is I would just create like a Facebook ad campaign and then send that traffic right to your website or landing page or wherever you're actually trying to make that sale happen. Also too, it's a lot easier to pitch through Facebook ads versus actually doing it through some sort of organic method, because typically if you're posting content and you're not paying for it, then that's like, people don't want to be pitched every single day. So usually what I do is for my organic content, what I'll do is I'll just educate people, and then if people end up coming to my site because of that, then great. But I still want to be able to provide value first. Whereas in an actual Facebook ad, because you're spending the money, you need that ROI. It's fine to just go ahead and pitch right out of the gate. So that's usually what I do. So if people needed to just get traffic instantly within, today to their website, what I would do is I would just go straight to paid ads.
Oh, wow. And you would use Facebook over LinkedIn, or does it matter?
I think it depends the business. I mean, Facebook is awesome, especially right now because the cost of advertising is pretty cheap, just because a lot of businesses aren't doing it because of the COVID crisis. I've seen YouTube ads do really well. It depends who you're really marketing to. If you're in the B2B space, I haven't ran any personal LinkedIn ads, but I would imagine that they would be pretty effective too, just because the ad platform isn't too populated yet. And then the people on LinkedIn are typically business professionals. But even the targeting on Facebook can get really niched down and narrowed down to your exact demographic. So like I said, it's really just a matter of testing to see what works and what doesn't for you.
Okay, and each social media platform has a different target market. Can you speak to that a little bit? Like, for example, you mentioned LinkedIn, it's really professional, whereas Facebook, it's a lot more social. You might see pictures of families and picnics, but you wouldn't expect to see that on LinkedIn. So can you kind of talk about that and how entrepreneurs can incorporate that thinking when they're trying to decide where to start, where to advertise?
Sure. So I think that there's another question down below that was also like how do you actually begin doing all this? So one of the things that I do personally is I typically start with a longer piece of content, and then I will end up recycling that into smaller pieces of content for the other platforms. So I'll create like a 10-minute YouTube video, and then out of that 10-minute YouTube video, I'll pull 5 2-minute videos that I'll use for Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And then I'll end up using the actual video description on YouTube as a blog. And then I'll also rip the audio and use that as a podcast. So then I'm really creating one piece of content, but I'm using it for a lot of different platforms. That way you don't really have to pick and decide. You can end up creating one, recycling it and using it for many, which takes a little bit of time to actually learn how to do that, but it's still very effective in terms of how much time you're spending creating content. But once again, going back to the question to answer it in one sentence, I would just look at who your target market is. Even in Facebook, and I think LinkedIn's starting to do it too, they're creating, well, Facebook for sure has Facebook groups, so you can actually find people who are in your exact demographic, and they're probably already congregated somewhere. LinkedIn is starting to do it as well, where they're creating LinkedIn groups. So let's say that you are going after specifically people that are restaurant business owners. You know, there's a good chance that there's a Facebook group of people that are restaurant business owners in a particular demographic, or small business owners in a particular demographic. So you don't really have to go to the platform as a whole in order to reach your exact person that you're actually trying to do business with. Most of the time, if you do a little bit of research, those pockets of customers or prospects typically have already congregated themselves. So it's just your opportunity to go into those groups, post content, and end up drip campaigning them into your website.
Okay, great. Did you guys have anything to add to that? Like, if you are overwhelmed with all the social media platforms, where do you start?
I'll add one thing is, you know, it'd be great if you can, you know, put your social, you know, your content on 3, 4, 5 different channels, and you should basically do it on prioritize. Here's my audience that I'm trying to reach. This platform is good for this particular audience. And then, like, what can I actually support on a regular basis for developing content? If you don't have the people, the bandwidth to support 3 different platforms, then just pick one and pick the best one for that. And that will help you decide, you know, how you can prioritize. Is what you have the bandwidth to do. Now, I mean, because you know, you can post the same exact stuff on each platform, but a lot of these platforms are very different. Like, how you post something on Instagram is different from how you post something on Facebook, and how you post something on, you know, TikTok or any of the other platforms. How you do it is different. So you probably have to adapt depending on how much bandwidth or resources that you have for each one.
Right.
Okay.
You can use a lot of different techniques, but one of the things that I always advise people on is start out with the one that you like. Now, that sounds a little out there, but what that does is that if you're attracted to some particular format, you may have a particular knack for that or a gift for it. Say, for example, if you're attracted to YouTube, you just really like YouTube. You don't even have to know why. It can be because you could become a great content creator because you're just comfortable in front of the camera. It could be LinkedIn. It could be Facebook. And it also says that maybe that particular format fits your personality, because it's very hard to try to get into an area that doesn't fit your particular personality. You may not want any part of YouTube. So that's something you could develop maybe a little later, or bring in an expert to assist you with that. But start out with something that you're attracted to, that you'll enjoy doing, and in doing so you have more motivation to move forward and, you know, make that a great form of promotions and advertising for you.
Okay, that's great advice, Van. I like what Spencer said too about understanding your target market, because I do some coaching with startups, and there's one lady that I've been working with, and she spent a ton of money on a printed ad, and she didn't get not one call from it. And I asked her, why did she do that? And she said, I just thought it would be a good idea. So the lesson in that is you have to do your research. You have to know your target market, understand your target market, and you have to know where they are. Are they on Facebook, or are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Pinterest? So know your target market, know where they are, and then I think that's a great place to start when choosing a social media platform. In addition to finding something that you enjoy. Of course, it's always going to be better if we enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so another question on social media. What do you post? Like, if you're not sure what to post, and I know one of our members is kind of reluctant about putting themselves out there. There's some question about, I don't know what to post. So what would you guys suggest?
If you don't mind, I guess I'll answer this question. So what I would do is, if you're struggling finding things to actually talk about, then I would just go to your FAQ. So what do people typically ask you when they're purchasing, and then answer those questions. So if someone says, hey, what is it like being a customer of your brand or of your business, then you can end up kind of making a 2-minute video explaining about what that is or what are the benefits of your services. Also just education, right? I think especially if you're in the business to business space, there's a lot of education that goes into your market. So if you know your business or your industry a lot better than most people do, then talk to them about things that you typically don't see from the outside. So those are just a couple ideas that I would start with in terms of what to actually say.
Okay.
I'd like to throw an idea in there. One of the things that I like to do is just pull out a blank sheet of paper, lined paper, and put from 1 down to 20 on it, and write 20 things that you know about your business, that you understand about your business, maybe better than the next person. And each one of those actually becomes a topic that you can write something about, or produce a video on, whatever the case is, and start sharing your expertise. Because I assume when you ask that question, you're talking about from a business standpoint. Because when you say, what should we post about, you're not just talking about getting on Facebook, having fun, or talking about current events. You're talking about business. Am I correct?
Yes, I'm talking about ways to grow your business using digital marketing. But some people use their personal posts to grow their business, because now it's all about connecting. So, people are encouraged to share pictures of your family, share personal experiences, so that your customers can connect with you on a deeper level and then want to do business with you.
Right. Well, one of the things I do is, sometime I'll get up in the morning. If I want to create new content, I'll take out a list again, and I'll write down maybe 4 or 5 things. And then I'll look at them and say, okay, what do I feel like tackling today? What mood am I in? And whatever I'm drawn to, I'll put together something on that. So it's a matter of becoming creative and trying to think of ways that you can get your business concept and ideas out to the public.
I like to think of social media content as it's a way to maintain a relationship with a customer or a prospective customer. And when you have that connection that might exist through social media, you don't want to be selling all the time, because people don't go on social media just to buy stuff. I mean, some people, they see stuff they want to buy, and that's sort of the point, is developing a relationship with them. So I would say that from a content perspective, the most important thing is to deliver some sort of value to whoever your audience is, whether you're educating them or inspiring them or, humoring them. Think through, what are the reasons I like social media? And then what you try to do is fit into that space, and so that you can build an online relationship with your customers. Like if you follow really popular social media handles for, big brands like Taco Bell, they're not trying to sell you product all the time. A lot of times they're trying to make you laugh, and they're poking fun at themselves, and they're poking fun at other people. But they do it in such a way that's very subtle, that integrates their products into their social media streams, so that you're thinking about Taco Bell, and you kind of have this perception of this brand and this company. And I think, Zelania, that was what you're talking about, is that social media, because it's like micro messages that happen on a regular basis. You can do it, daily, once, twice a week, or whatever format, or, whatever time frame, is an opportunity to show people who you are and what you believe. And a lot of people right now want to do business with, local companies. And I want to do business with you because we share the same values, and you are passionate about what it is that you do, and you're passionate about life and these other things. And when people can relate to you in a personal way, they're more likely to buy from you. It's kind of like, I could go to the large chain restaurant, but you know what? I know the person who owns this business. I know that they have kids and they go to a local school, and I've been watching their kids grow up. And I feel good about giving them my business because I know that they like to contribute to our community. And so I like to think of social media and the micro blogging that you kind of do through that. It's a window to the soul of your business and to your own soul. And if you're willing to share that, then I think you can develop deep and strong bonds with your customers that will be very positive.
Awesome. That was great, Kevin. Thank you.
Yeah, what he's saying, the first word popped in my mind was rapport, developing rapport and connection with the audience.
Absolutely. So we have 2 comments from the audience. Yolanda Harris, she says, post promos, events, neutral views, celebration of holidays. I stay away from political party affiliations. I would agree with that. Getting into politics can be controversial. Right now, we're dealing with protests and race relations, which people, I think, are actually pressuring companies a little bit to take a stand and say how they feel about what's going on. So,
Absolutely.
what are your thoughts on controversial topics like politics or race relations, what we're dealing with right now?
Well, I'll be brief. We're in a unique time in history right now when it's okay to talk about, like, you know, the racial issues, the racial tension, political issues, because we're in a, we just, you know, we're coming out of a pandemic. So there's a lot going on. And I think it would be somewhat of a disservice to pretend that it's not there and keep talking about business as usual, especially as business leaders. People expect you to address the current situation because it's, I mean, it's right in our face. So now is a time, you know, more so than any time in history that we, you know, fully talk about those particular subjects. Now, if you go back 4 or 5 months ago, yeah, it could get you in a lot of trouble to talk about, you know, politics or racial issues and things, because people weren't necessarily facing the reality, which not talking about that has now led us to. So I think moving forward, maybe a lot of that's going to change.
Okay, anybody else?
I would say, I think you made the point that I think people are looking for more of a relationship with their whoever they're doing commercial business with, and they want to know what you believe and they want to know what your values are. And I would say this: I think that you can comment on what's happening in the world without being involved in like very specific political discussions. Like if we talk very broadly about values and you know, and talking about community and valuing individuals, and you can do it without going into the weeds. And talking about, as an example, you value every person, and you value every person's dignity, and you give every person's respect. I don't think that there is anybody who would disagree with that. You know, and you know, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or whatever, you can express that you want to have a strong community, and that we believe in each other and what we're capable of accomplishing. So there's ways to go around that. And then for some companies, it's a very successful strategy to say what you believe. And you know, I think that anybody who says that they believe in racism would be considered a crazy person, right? So I think that I think companies can make a stand and they can say, this is wrong, and it's wrong in all forms. And I don't think that there's anybody that would disagree. What happens where the disagreement comes is in the policies and how you actually implement them, and how you know, government, what kind of laws and stuff like that. But can we say that every child deserves an opportunity to thrive and, you know, succeed in this world? We can all agree on that, and I think that would bring us together. And I think people should take a stand and demonstrate their values, but leave the nitpicky politics stuff, you know, aside. Just say what you believe and what your values are.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Kevin. We just released a statement through NEA, and we basically said just what you said, that we believe in the fair and equal treatment of everyone, and who can disagree with that? But we actually had a board member several years ago who was very political, and he would post his views on social media and end up getting into arguments with people that became profanity laced. So I would strongly discourage people from doing that. And, you know, if you're passionate about something, you want to think about your brand. How is this going to affect your brand? Right now, we're seeing a lot of people lose business. There was a company, I think it's Detroit Popcorn, that sold it to someone and they posted something on social media, so they took the offer back. So you really do have to be careful and think about your brand when you're out there posting and commenting.
One thing I'll add on top of that too is you would want to make sure that your employees are also maintaining a good representation of your business as well. Because I had the same situation. Last year I had an employee that was passionate about politics, and I sat him down and said, hey, it's okay that you have these opinions, but you have to do it in a way that's also respectful of other people's viewpoints. So even though you may not be the one who's actually making those statements, if somebody on behalf of your brand is, that could be destructive as well.
Absolutely. So we have another question from Antoinette Coleman. She wants to know what time of day is the best time to do social media and what would draw the most attention. How often, a day, a week, a month, should we be posting to be effective? Shrisha, why don't you start?
Yeah. So for effective advertisement, like so you have to add an image or video. And so for example, if you are giving a training, so instead of the content, you can add like like a video or like image kind of training, and then you can add 2 lines of 3 lines of the content into that image. So images we are available in the stock or Fotolia, so you can post that add into the Facebook groups and any TikTok or YouTube videos. So and the timings, so it depends on the services they are going to provide. And I would say like the weekends, some people are going to busy, some people are very active, so it depends on the service. So if it is a service and if it is going to be students, so they are going to be in the online like weekends and weekdays also. So if it is the professionals, they are going to be only weekends. So it depends on the services they are going to provide. So we would say like a day or timing, you can search for that.
Okay, how often should they be posting, Spencer?
Yeah, I mean, I would say as often as you can, right? I think that there's always value in being seen. But
like 3 or 4 times a day, that's fine.
yeah, so if you could keep up, so the way I say is like, if your content is valuable, then I don't think that there's a limit to how much you can post. Personally, I do it like once a day. I'll create like a micro video, like a 30 or 45-second video. I'll put it on my social channels. So it's quick, it's fast, it's easy, and it doesn't take too much time. If you are someone who really enjoys creating content and that's a passion for you and that's like something you want to make your voice heard, then I don't think it's wrong to post multiple times a day. The one thing I will say is don't go long periods of time without posting anything. So don't go weeks on end without saying anything, because then, you know, you're just going to get forgotten. I think that there's a lot of validity to staying seen, staying in front of people's eyes, and maintaining a consistent brand.
And I think you have to, again, do your own research. If you've been running your business a while, you'll start to get to know your audience. Like I notice if I send out an email at a certain time of day and a certain day of the week, it will get opened more than if I send it another time or another day of the week. So you want to pay attention to your audience. And the same thing with social media posts. So I think it's going to vary depending on your business and what you're doing.
Can I add to what Spencer said? And what I think was really valuable is if your post is valuable and you can do good posts 3 times a day, then you can do post 3 times a day. But don't just post just to post, because then people will not appreciate your content. And what will actually happen is if your audience doesn't interact with your content, what a lot of these social media platforms will do is they'll stop showing your content. to your audience organically. Because they're seeing that your audience doesn't think your content is very interesting. They're not interacting, so we're just going to show your content to them less and less. So I think you can post as often as you have something good to say and something that's interesting and compelling. That's probably the right time frame.
Okay, great point. And I think that's a great point you made, because a lot of times we post and we don't realize people are not even seeing your content. I was in a social media workshop, and I believe on a business page, only 30% see your content. Is that correct, you guys? Only 30% of your audience will actually see what you post.
I mean, you don't even know that is correct. I mean, basically, Facebook has said, and Mark Zuckerberg have said, as an example, and this probably applies to a lot of the different social media platforms, that they're putting more preference on the personal interactions that you have. So for businesses, there's already, it's already a little bit more difficult. So you have to really be on top of your content as a business. And what they're going to do is they're going to show your content to a few people, and they're going to test and see, how do people react? Do people, find it interesting? Are they engaging you? And if they see with this small sample that people are engaging with you, then they'll start to show it to a wider audience. But the bar for performance is more difficult with businesses. And so that's why they're pushing a lot of businesses. If you want your content to be seen, then you've got to combine a really good organic, content strategy, and then you got to pay for it as well, is what they're really pushing you for. They want you to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. So I told you it was going to go fast. We're at 1 o'clock. So we want to kind of wrap things up. And actually, I think we covered integration when we talked about how you have to incorporate everything together. But any final words on that? When you're thinking about the video, the website, the social media, how you want to integrate all of that so that it's working to increase your business.
I think you want to create, a campaign strategy and goal and message. And so here's the message that we're trying to communicate about our company or our products or whatever they are. And then what you do is you evaluate. Here's the different channels that we want to be able to communicate this message. So it could be, we have messaging on our website. Then we want to send emails out to those people we have email addresses for. Then we want to put certain messages in our social media channels. And then we make sure that message is consistent and integrated amongst all the different opportunities that we have. How do you pick them all? It probably has to do with bandwidth. How much time do we have to build content for all of these different channels, and what expertise do we have? What access to resources we have will help probably drive that decision.
Awesome. Final words, Spencer, on integrating everything. And obviously there are even more platforms than what we discussed. We didn't even discuss podcasting, which is huge now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think the one thing I'll say to wrap up is that it's like, don't overanalyze everything before you even start. Start doing something, start taking action, and then figure out what works, what doesn't, and kind of just like the conversation has been today, figure out what your message is and what you can handle in terms of the amount of time and resources you can dedicate to marketing and social media in general, and then go from there, right? But one thing that I would always push people to do is just start doing something. Don't watch a presentation like this and then come back in 6 months when the next one comes around and say, hey, what do I do? Right. So once again, just start promoting your brand, your voice, and then over the course of time, the pieces will kind of show themselves.
Yes. Van.
Yeah, just to wrap, one of the things I wanted to mention about the whole video aspect, considering the fact that that's my main area of expertise, there have been market studies that show that when you incorporate video into your social media, that clients are actually 60% or more liable to do business with you. And I said, wow, that's a big number. But then if you think about it, think about how you typically operate. If you're really interested in something, you'll go say on the internet to research a particular product or service. And you click on services that have videos as opposed to sites that just have write-ups, and you'll watch these videos, listen to testimonies, maybe even information from the owner of the company. And if you're comfortable with what you see, I know I am, I'm more inclined to buy, because then I feel like I've dug a little deeper into the company as opposed to just reading a bunch of words on the screen. So incorporating video and at some aspect into your business can exponentially grow your business by over 60% if it's done correctly with quality.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Shrija, your volume's not on.
So final words, like go with the a website, so you can put all your information, your company information into the website and promote that website into different Facebook groups. So this one is inexpensive, is the digital marketing, instead of spending the outside pamphlets or TV ads, something like that. So digital marketing is inexpensive, and you can go with the all digital marketings like a Facebook and Twitter. These all are free, so you can upload your services into different groups. So you can join the public groups and you can promote that into your different groups. So the website, so you can start with like a weeks, or if you want to go with a professional, so you can hire an agency, the less price. So you can go with that.
Okay. And I would say, it's a lot. So if you just pick one thing and work on that, at least you're making forward progress. So pick something. Maybe you say, okay, I'm just going to work on my website. And then once you get that where you want it, you choose a social media platform and just focus on that, as opposed to trying to be everywhere. So I just have an announcement about our next webinar that will be on virtual networking. That will be next Wednesday, June 17th at noon. And you can see there we have more NEA members who will be giving their advice on how to network online since we have been able to do it with the COVID-19 situation. And we're getting some great feedback. Antoinette Coleman says, thank you all so much. Valerie Brock says, this has been very informative and helpful. Thank you for this webinar. And then Marsha Jones, thank you all very much for sharing your time and knowledge. I learned so much. It's a lot, but I'm excited. The pieces of nuggets you shared are priceless. I have my first baby step. So that's wonderful. I love to hear that we're helping people, because entrepreneurship is not easy. So in closing, thank you all for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you next week, and be safe out there. Goodbye.
All righty.
Thank
Take care.
you. Bye.